This is Parashat Emor. If anyone would like to annotate on the screen or raise their hand, this is how you do it. Let's see. Like I said, rather than starting at the very beginning, I wanted to jump down just a bit. Where was it? I think it's here. I think this is the next chapter. My apologies to anyone who started preparing at the beginning of the parasha. We'll keep things spontaneous. Who are my readers? Who wants to read? Put your hands up, and I will call on you to read. Amanda's first one, and Jesse's second. Amanda, this one's all yours. Go ahead. And then Yolanda's third.
דבר אל אחרון ואל בניו. וינזרו מקדשי בני ישראל, ולא יהללו את שם קדושי אשר הם מקדישים לי אני השם.
Nice. Well done. There are a couple of Kamatz Katan vowels. Did you notice those?
No, I missed them.
All right. Well, then how do you pronounce that first word?
Mikodshe.
Mikodshe. And then this one with the Kamatz Katan would be?
Kodshi.
Very good. All right. I'll read through one time, then it's all yours. Well, of course, the translation is already there. So maybe we'll just talk about the things that are important in it instead of translating. Sorry about that. Daber el Aharon ve'el banav ve'yinazru mikodshe v'nei Yisrael ve'lo yechalalu et shem kodshi asher hem makdishim li ani Adonai. Okay, well, those of you who saw it, how did you know this was a Kamatz Katan? And how did you know that was a Kamatz Katan?
Because it comes before an unaccented syllable.
It's not accented.
A closed syllable, unaccented, yes.
Perfect. Closed and unstressed syllable is Kamatz Katan. On very rare occasion, there are places where you'll get a Kamatz Katan in a quote unquote open syllable, but it's simply because of a problem with audible chataf vowels, like audible shvaz and audible chataf kamatz or something like that. Very rarely you can get a couple of Kamatz Katans in a row. But by and large, you're looking for a closed syllable that is unstressed. There's a stress mark, there's a stress mark. We know it's unstressed and it's closed because there's a consonant closing it. And does anybody know what that thing means? Under the word v'yinazru?
Means the kamatz, it's kamatz katan.
Is it to space? To wait a little bit? Pause?
Yeah, it is. It's a teeny tiny pause here. And in this word, it's acting essentially like a secondary stress. It's not primary stress. Someone recently brought to my attention that there are examples in the Bible where this symbol called a meteg can actually show up on a Kamatz Katan. And I was befuddled to see it, but yeah, it can occasionally in rare circumstances show up on a Kamatz Katan, but by and large, it's going to go with a regular full Kamatz, vowel, but what's important is that it's the secondary stress, which means when you go to pronounce this, it's going to have sort of a v'yinazru, which means that the original answer that one of you gave about, well, it means you kind of slow down a bit, you pause just a little bit. That's the correct answer. What kind of a verb is this? Daber.
Yeah.
form is it? It is PL. What form is it?
Yikto.
Al.
Imperative?
It's not Yiktal.
Yiktal.
It's not Kal.
Is it
Absolute.
imperative?
Yeah. Yeah. From the English, we can see the translation is imperative. And this would essentially be the Yiktal form Tidaber, but the Tav has been lost. Oh, how did I miss that Tav that went missing? You know, it's like turn where the old post office used to be, right? So it's the Yiktal form, but with a missing Tav. That is an imperative. Okay, this right here. What part of speech is this word? Is it a verb?
Subject.
It's noun.
It's a noun.
Gifts.
It's
Oh.
a noun, a person, place, thing, or idea. And we know it partially because there's a preposition attached to it. Prepositions talk about the position between nouns. And we know it also because it's got a tsereyot, which is plural construct. What's the singular absolute form of this word?
Kadash.
Kodesh?
Kodesh.
It would be
Kodesh.
Kodesh. Kadash would be kind of a stative verb. He was holy, or Kadesh, actually. And Kadosh is an adjective. But Kodesh, with the stress right there, is a noun. So from the holy things of the children of Israel, what holy things? You can see the translator inserted the word gifts. Well, probably like the holy offerings, because that's what this chapter is kind of about. What to do with those holy offerings. Does anybody know what the word asher, what part of speech the word asher is?
That describe the thing, the word before, or the sentence before.
Sure. Yeah. It's a relative
Pronoun.
relative particle or relative pronoun. And yeah, it basically gives us more information about the thing that was just said. Very good. What is the root of this verb?
Hello. Oh. Oh,
Halal.
hello.
Yeah, you have to be
Hello.
careful, huh? There's a fine line between halel, which means praise, and halel, which means defile or profane.
Mm.
Woo!
Yeah.
And what kind of a word is this?
Magdash.
Verb.
Is it a participle?
Yes, it is a participle. I know some teachers will teach that participles are verbs. I teach that they're actually adjectives. They describe what someone or something is doing. But yes, it is a participle, if I can learn how to spell. And so that means it is going to have a binyan. It is going to have a gender number. What binyan is it?
PL? Oh no. If you?
You saw, did you see the dagesh in the second root letter?
Oh,
And the
you?
mem.
Is this a strong or weak dagesh?
Strong.
But there's a schwa before it.
But it has a vowel ending. So doesn't that change the vowel?
When a dagesh shows up at the beginning of the syllable, it's
And bigat kifat.
it's a weak bigat kifat dagesh.
Yeah.
Only if there's a vowel before it, it makes it strong. So we actually don't care. What do you mean?
I meant if the suffix starts with a vowel, doesn't the vowel change? Yeah.
You're talking about because im is added, something changed? What changed?
I don't know that was just my
Singular,
I don't know.
plural.
Okay, so the im tells us it's plural.
Yeah.
masculine plural because it's a
Mhm.
participle, which is an adjective. It's masculine plural. How do we know what binyan it is? It does have a dagesh, but it's a weak dagesh, so it doesn't tell us anything. The patach tells us
Yeah.
something, and the chirik tells us something. That's what we're looking for to diagnose what binyan it is.
Yeah.
You
You know,
feel?
PL would have a shva here, and it would have a patach
Okay.
there. Somebody already said it.
You feel?
Hif'il. Yeah, that patach, especially in the yiktol
Yeah.
form,
Ah, yeah.
that patach tells us it's hif'il causative. So if kuf dalet shin means to be consecrated or holy, then makdishim means the ones who are causing something to be holy,
Mhm.
dedicating, or they're consecrating.
Mhm. 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 When begins the Hebrew lesson? At 1 hour before. It's now we have 11 in Germany.
I have 12 minutes after the hour, so we started 12 minutes ago.
Okay. That's okay. Thank you.
But for anyone who's watching, it's Eastern time, American Eastern time, 5 p.m. or 1700 on Sunday nights.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
who is the next reader? Jesse, it's yours, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Emor Elechem Ledorotechem Kol Ish Asher Yikrav Mikol Zarachem El HaKodashim Asher Yikdishu Vnei Yisrael La Adonai Ve'tum Ato Alav Ve'nichreta Hanefesh Hahi
Mm-hmm.
Milfane Ani Adonai.
Mm-hmm. It's not milfane. What is it?
Oh, Mi Lefana
Mm-hmm. Milfanai.
Nai.
Mm-hmm. And all right, very good. Just real quick, this up here where it says hallow to make something
Mhm.
holy. This vowel was off just a bit. Read it one more time.
Yakdishu.
Very good. Like the participle that we just read, makdishim. This is the same verb in binyan with the patach right there. I'm going to read through one time, and then there's a couple of cool things to talk about here. Emor alehem ledorotechem. Excuse me, ledorotechem
Mhm.
kol ish asher yikrav mikol zarachem אל הקודשים אשר יקדישו בני ישראל לאדוני, וטומאתו עליו, ונכרתה הנפש ההיא מלפני אני אדוני. All right, so I want to talk about this just for a second. When you read it, I heard you say La Adonai. A lot of people like to put a pause right there because Adonai starts with an aleph, that glottal stop. But remember, aleph at the end of a syllable. When aleph comes at the end of a syllable, it quiesces. So what should be L Adonai, you would actually get a shva followed by, and I know this is Yod He Vav He, but we're supposed to read it as Aleph, Dalet, so on.
Mhm.
Like this. So if you have a Lamed here with a Shva, and you have an Aleph with a Chataf vowel, or Chatef vowel, does Hebrew allow it? No. How does
No.
Hebrew fix it?
Make it a law.
Changes the vowels.
Ladonai.
So we actually have a couple of options. One option, which Hebrew will sometimes do, is, well,
Mhm.
let me give you the general answer first. When you have two audible reduced vowels in a row, Hebrew turns the first one into a full vowel. Great.
Mhm.
What full vowel will it turn into? There's where things can get a little murky. What could happen is because of this chataf patach, it will turn this into a patach. That would be la'a donai, which is exactly what you said.
La Adonai.
But sometimes what it'll do is just cause the aleph to quiesce at the end of the syllable, which means there's no vowel, and this turns into this, la donai.
Ah,
Whenever-
Kamas.
Right, exactly. So it has to
Mhm.
lengthen because of the open syllable now, because of the quiescing aleph. The point being, when you see lamed in front of God's name, it's actually la Adonai instead of la Adonai, and it all has to do with aleph quiescing, gutturals messing up vowels. Now, there's something particularly special about the verse that you've just read. It is only one of 6 verses in the Hebrew Bible that contains all of the vowel pointings.
Mhm.
Absolutely all of the vowel pointings. So kamatz, patach, hirik, segol, shurik, kamatz katan, they're all here. So yay!
Which verse is it?
This
'Cause
is
it doesn't.
Leviticus 22:3. Yeah, I intentionally leave the reference off. My apologies. I intentionally leave it off because it's less distracting, but I don't know. Maybe I need to put it in gray or something. Leviticus 22:3. There's another one in Exodus. Actually, I wonder if I still have it pulled up. There's one in Exodus 32:6. There's another one in Ruth 2:12. So these have all of the vowels. Now, what verse has all of the consonants? Now, there's a good question, including all of the final forms. There's only
One in
one.
Isaiah, I believe, but I don't know which one.
What is your comment? What are you saying?
It's in Isaiah, I believe, but I don't know where, but it's in Isaiah.
So there are more verses that contain all of the consonants, but if you include the final forms, there's only one verse in the Bible that has all of the letters, including the final forms, and it is Zephaniah 3:8. So when somebody is just learning to read Hebrew,
Mm.
I particularly like giving them one verse. Hey, learn how to read this one verse, and you'll know all the consonants. Learn to read this one verse, you'll know all of the vowels.
Ah,
Pretty cool, right?
Oh,
That way
that's
you don't
cool.
have to
Yeah.
read an entire, book of Ruth just to see all of the consonants, and that way you can hyperfixate on one verse and get it down perfect, and then you can move on to anything else in the Bible.
Mhm.
Do we have another imperative here? Emor?
Yes.
Yes.
What's the yiktol form of this verb? Suppose it's you will say.
Assimilate Aleph.
That would be I will say,
Oh
but
man.
you know where I'm
No,
going with this. No?
No. Oh yes.
How about this? Has anyone ever seen the verb vayomer?
Vayomer, yes.
Mhm.
Of course, we all have. It's one of the most common verbs in the
Vayomer.
Bible. Exactly, vayomer.
Yeah,
This
the
is the
longing.
Because you said
vayiktol.
yiktol, so there's
No,
a
you're right.
right?
I said yiktol. This is not the yiktol.
No.
This is a
Emor.
vayiktol.
Vayik
But
toll.
the yiktol is kind of built into a vayiktol. So how do you say you will say?
Vatomer,
Take the va off. And don't make it a vayiktol.
Tomar.
Very good. Tomar. So this vowel we lost because of the vayiktol,
Yeah.
but that's not the point that I'm trying to make here. That O vowel is the point I'm trying to make here. This is a very strange, very irregular verb. It and 5 other verbs like it. The so-called pay aleph verbs. I think we might have touched on this a little bit last week. So is the imperative here a yiktol minus a tav? Well, not quite. Otherwise, it would be Omar, or something like that. No, it's Emor. So this is a pretty stark exception to the rule that imperatives are a yiktol minus a tav. But other than these, 6 pay aleph verbs, you're pretty much golden on the imperative forms. And dorot, masculine or feminine?
Feminine.
Mm.
Masculine?
Masculine.
It's
Oh,
a
masculine.
masculine.
Dor is normally is masculine.
Dor is masculine. It just has an irregular plural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
In fact, it is a much better it's much better of a practice to try to guess what the gender of a noun is from the singular.
Yeah.
Okay? There are so many irregular plurals.
Mhm.
Okay. כל אשר יקרב מכל זרעכם, אנשים תשבו זכרו. What's the root of this?
Mm,
Ama.
Ame.
Tame.
Amen.
What part of speech is
Oh.
it?
Vikatal? Nee,
Yikto?
Hofal.
Why is there a tav on it?
Vayikto?
No, there's a tav on the end, a feminine tav on the end. It's a noun.
Igual.
It's a noun.
No.
See, you all are telling me binyanim names, but it's a noun.
Ugh.
That's a
The-
noun.
Yeah, the O on the end makes it his. So
Okay.
tum'a or tum'at in
Yes.
in the
Plural?
construct form, that's your. Well, no, it's feminine singular. It's just that
Okay.
tum'a.
Mhm.
I wonder if it's tum'a or tum'a. I guess it's tum'a. Like this will go into construct state by getting its original tav back and then drop the vowel to a patah. Well, it's supposed to drop to a patah, but then we add the O, which makes the kamats come back. Oy vavoy. Can anybody explain why a vav shows up about 50 times in the Torah in the word he?
Yeah.
Yeah, usually he is spelled with a yod,
Yes.
but about 50 times it's spelled with a vav. Why?
A leftover.
It's original, a native.
Well, if anyone finds out, let me know, because I don't have a clue. The vav and the yod, we get to see vavs and yods changing out quite a bit in other words in Hebrew. So it almost makes me suspect that there must have been some dialectic issue between vav and yod. But, you'll get these so-called misspellings in the same sentence as a he spelled with a yod. So it's not like they did it on accident. So yeah, it's a great question. I've read some papers on why people think this happened, and nobody knows. So if you do find out, let me know. All right, any questions on this before we move on? Yolanda, are you the next reader?
Eileen.
Eileen is? Eileen.
Yes, she was. She got out and then came back.
Okay, Eileen, are you the next reader? You ready to read?
Yes.
All right, have at it.
If Shem me to eat
This is the word misera.
misera. Okay.
Who is this?
Aharon.
Vehu.
Vehu.
Tsarua.
Sarua. Or.
Zav.
Zav. Zav.
Mhm.
Bako. No.
You're right.
Ba-
Bako.
Bako. Deshim.
Right. Bakodashim.
Sim. Lo. Akal.
Yochal.
Yochal. Okay.
Did you?
I don't.
Is the font giving you trouble?
No.
Okay.
I just
This is a
I don't
Dalit.
remember
Mm.
how to pronounce the. Oh, Aldor. No.
Wait, what? You didn't finish your sentence. How to pronounce the what? Is there one of these letters that's giving you trouble?
Yeah, I don't remember how to say it.
The first or the second?
The first one.
Ayin. Ayin in modern Hebrew is essentially like an aleph, sometimes even silent. So ad.
Ad. Shim. R.
A share.
A share. Yito. Yitha.
Very good. Yitar.
Yitar.
2 syllables.
Vav.
Yit and then har afterward.
Har.
Yitar. All right, keep going.
Yitar. Vaha. In. Going.
Vehanogea.
Yeah. Ger. Oh.
This is gea. Gea.
Ger.
Good.
Bakal. Bekol.
Kamatz katan bechol.
Bechol. Tome. Ha.
Tme.
Tome.
That's it.
Tome.
Tme.
And pe.
It's not, the first syllable is not n, but rather ne.
Ne. Passion.
Nefesh.
Nefesh. Or.
O.
Ish.
Ish.
Asher. Dor. Is. Ad.
Wait, those two vowels, those two dots, what sound do they make?
Eh.
A. Exactly.
To. Te. Serra.
Te tse. Te tse.
Tetse. Okay. Me. No.
Yeah. Me,
Yeah.
me. Oh,
Mi me to.
that's a nun there. Me menu.
Menu. Oh, mi menu.
Mhm.
Shekolbeto.
Shichvat. Shichvat.
Shikpat. Zara.
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 Usually it's the word zera, but at the end of the word, it gets an elongated vowel, pausal form, Zara.
Zara.
Good reading. Excellent. Thank you so much for reading. Let me read through one time and then we'll study some things here. Ish, mizera. Here, there you can see the word zera versus Zara. Sorry, I'm supposed to be reading. Mizera Aharon, vehu tzarua, ozav, bakodashim, lo yochal. עד אשר יטהר, והנוגע בכל טמא נפש, או איש אשר תצא ממנו שכבת זרה. All right, so not exactly a glamorous passage here either, just like the first chapter had some kind of ooey gooey stuff. Well, guess we're in the middle of it here too. Does anybody know how to say land flowing with milk and honey? It's a very well-known passage from the Bible. Remember, God's going to bring Israel into the land flowing with milk and honey, right? Well, it's Zvat Chalav Udvash. Zvat Chalav Udvash. So Chalav is milk, Dvash is honey, and Zvat comes from Zava, flowing. What we're looking at,
Say it again.
it's going to be Zvat Chalav
Uzvat.
Udvash.
Udvash.
Dvash is honey. That's basically a household word for us. And let's see, Zvat Chala. I can't remember if it's reduced or not. Chalav. I'm gonna have to guess. I'm sorry, I don't remember which one it is. Zvat Chalav Udvash. So here the root is zuv, to flow, and in the participle it's flowing of, so it's zava, and then the original tav comes back. Zvat, flowing of, chalav, milk, udvash, and honey. What kind of what does this statement even mean? What does it mean for Israel to be a land flowing with milk and honey? We have milk falls rather than waterfalls, and you accidentally step in a puddle of honey instead of dog droppings. I mean, what's going on here? What is this supposed to mean? Flowing with milk and honey.
A land that has everything that they will need or want.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. It's a fertile, it's a prosperous, it's a fruit-bearing land. Do you think they had cow milk?
Goat.
Probably goat milk. Do you think they had bee honey?
Date.
Yes.
So there is evidence of bees being in the land of Israel, but maybe not at this time yet. So it might actually be fig or date honey as opposed to like bee honey. But we do get to see, like, for example, Samson. Remember when he eats the honey? So we know there are bees in the time of Samson. And also from the Second Temple period, there's an archaeological remain of an apiary. That's a beehive. Somebody found a beehive in Second Temple period, so they're actually now raising bees and collecting the honey from it. Anyway, so that word reminded me of that beautiful thought, even though the flowing that we're talking about here is something quite different. Okay. Unless somebody has a question, I'm ready to move on with the next reader. Yes, question.
Ish. It says at the
Ish.
beginning. It's repeating. It sounds like the tautological thingy there.
It seems to be saying that something's happening over and over. So ish, I would translate as either any man or better, each and every man. This is kind of the same thing we see with, the animals going on to Noah's Ark, shnaim, shnaim, or doing something day by day or year by year. Hebrew will repeat the word. So here it's probably each and every, or possibly as they translated here, any. I like the first option better. I don't like the word any. Not here.
Mhm.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
All right.
Off
Did
that-
somebody else have a question?
Well, off that second Daish,
Uh-huh.
it's got that double cannellation, that quarter circle,
This?
and then it switches direction when you get down to a leper, and then it's repeats it again down to whoever touches. Another
Mhm.
observation: honey and goat milk are actually remedies for healing. Also,
That's right. That's cool. Remember the verse about follow my commandments and I will not let the diseases of Egypt cling to you. That's a cool verse. And makes you wonder what kind of diseases they had in Egypt, but yeah, it's supposed to be a land of healing and having abundant life. I like that. Thank you for saying that. Yolanda, are you ready to read?
Yes.
All right, let's see. This one's yours. Go right ahead.
O ish asher yiga bechol sheretz asher yitma lo. O be'adam asher yitma lo. Lechol tum'ato.
Very good. Let me
Thank
read
you.
through one time. O ish asher yiga bechol sheretz asher yitma lo o v'adam asher yitma lo lechol tum'ato. All right. We're talking about the high priest in this section, and there seem to be all these laws about what you can touch, what you can't touch, whose funeral you can go to, whose funeral you can't, what state you're in, and whether you can eat holy things. What's the point of all of these rules?
Obedience.
But the theme here is holiness. What is holiness?
Set apart.
Something set apart.
Set apartness. Exactly. You guys have, maybe you do. I was going to say you guys have no idea, but maybe you do. That in some communities, religious communities, churches, synagogues, whatever, that if you ask the simple question, what is holiness? Oh, holiness. Wow, that's huge. It's amazing. It's beyond comprehension. It's not.
Set
It's
apart.
set apartness. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So why do the priests have to be so meticulous about set apartness?
Mhm. Because it's a likeness of God, and it's written for secure for us, security.
He's essentially a mediator. He is a representative between God and the people.
Mhm.
So he needs to represent the holiness of God to the people and bear the responsibility, if you will, of the people before God.
Mhm.
so in the temple, the closer you get to the Holy of Holies, the cleaner and more holy you have to be. So
That's
it was
right.
laver to laver, altar to altar,
Mm-hmm.
door to door, gate to gate.
So, who is the quintessential high priest?
Melchizedek.
I see where you took that, and I appreciate it. Why not Messiah himself?
Messiah,
He was Melchizedek.
the anointed one.
So here's the thing. If the high priest is supposed to keep holy and do this and don't do that because he's held to a very high standard, does that mean Messiah is also held to such a high standard?
Yes.
He is the high standard.
He
The
is the
full
high
high
standard.
He
standard.
made the standard.
Okay. And his disciples, are they supposed to emulate him?
Yes.
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 So we are supposed to be holy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very good. What does that mean?
Set apart.
Don't touch this, don't touch that. How does that affect our lives?
It looks different than the rest of the world.
It's the lifestyle that we have to be set apart. We have to live by it.
Mhm.
And we have
Somebody
the
else
Holy
wanna
Ghost,
answer?
the one that tells us what's right and what's wrong.
Okay.
What we should do right.
Mhm.
And the devil can't touch us.
Oh, he
Does-
can.
We-
He
Does,
can, but
Hang on.
When I
Is the
live in
job of
sin,
the Holy
I have problems. When I live in sin, I have problems, and my relationship to Jesus is, it's not, it's more destroying when
Mhm.
I go deeper in sin.
Right.
I have no
The-
clearness in the Lord. In Deutsch heißt das, wer ein reines Herz hat, der wird Gott sehen. When you have a clean heart, you can see God clearly.
Mhm. Okay. The job of the Holy Spirit is to
Convict.
lead us to all righteousness.
Advocate.
So what
To
about the
secure
Bible?
us.
Does the Bible serve a function anymore?
Mm-hmm.
The Bible is
It's the
Jesus
truth.
in writing.
And the
Have
Holy
you ever
Spirit
heard
helps us
someone say,
understand it.
have you ever heard someone say, the Spirit told me, ...
Yeah.
And then they
I
say
don't believe
something that
those.
you know is squarely against what's written in the Bible.
Mhm.
Yes.
So
Yes.
look, the
Yeah,
point
it was a
is,
spirit for sure, probably,
well,
but not the right
I
one.
don't know. Oh my goodness. All right. So anyway, the point being that the high priest is one of the messianic pictures. So is the prophet. So is the king. And that's why Messiah is supposed to be all three. All right, but I digress. Anybody have a comment or question about this before we move on?
Yeah, that was a good exercise. I like that.
Let's see. Annie, do you want to read?
Yes.
Go ahead.
נפש אשר תיגע בו וטמאה עד הערב, ולא יאכל מן הקודשים, כי אם אחץ בשרו במים.
Very good. Try not to put a pause in between here like an aleph, but rather carry it with a Y sound. Bamayim. Try again.
במים.
Do you hear that you're making it almost like two words? Bama'im. Rather than connecting it with a Y, try this. Let me see if I can write it like this. Bamayim. Can you do that?
במים.
Okay. Let me read through one time and then see if there's anything here that we can talk about. It's a little bit of a short verse. I'm sorry. I feel like you got the short end of the stick on this one. Nefesh asher tiga bo ve. Uh-oh, is that a kamatz katan or not?
Yeah, yes. Sehr good.
No.
Nee, kamatz katan, yes. Vetom.
Vetam'a. We'll talk about that in a second. Ad ha'arev velo yochal min hakodashim ki im rachatz b'saro b'mayim. All right, how do we know whether that's a kamatz katan or not? Is it a closed unstressed syllable?
Yeah. Tam. Ah.
Well, there's your stress. Your stress is over there. It's a closed unstressed syllable, right?
Yeah, normal. Yes.
So frustrating
Hmm.
trying to identify these buggers every once in a while. And if there's a little meteg right here, then you know that it's probably going to be a regular kamatz, but it's not there. Nevertheless, this is a katal verb.
Ah.
Katal verbs don't have O vowels in them,
Ah.
right?
Yeah.
Think of
Yeah.
shamar. Shamar, he guarded, or shamara, she guarded. What should have been a kamatz right there got reduced. No, it's supposed to be a patach. I know historically it was probably a kamatz, but the point is it got reduced. So that doesn't magically change this into an O vowel now. It's still an A vowel, and that's still audible. Shamara. Same here. Vitama. So because it's a katal verb, that's how you know that it does not have an O vowel. It's not supposed to have an O vowel. Ergo, not a kamatz katan. So you can use the structure of the word to determine whether you should expect an O or not. What about trying to think of it. Well, let's just use probably the most famous word that you all already know.
Chochmah.
Yeah, of course. Does it have the same pattern?
It's a noun. That is a noun.
No, it does not have the same pattern. I'm looking at the vowels. Of course it has the same pattern. They're identical. I know it's not the same pattern. Remember, a pattern is the structure of the vowel. It's basically everything besides the root. So up here, the vowel pattern comes from katal, but down here, the vowel pattern comes from O flavored nouns. If it didn't have a feminine ending on it, it would be something like chocham or chochem, something like this. It's supposed to have an O like boker or kodesh.
Yeah.
Now, this word doesn't exist because we have to add the feminine ending, which then turns that into a shva, reduces to kamatz katan. But the point is, the pattern that it comes from is different. It's a noun. Nouns have O's, verbs, well, katal verbs don't. Let's see. Ad ha'arev. There's that pausal form again. Should be
Erev.
erev. Velo yochal. Review. What's that? Why is there a cholam there? I don't know why there's a cholam. It's one of those 6 verbs that are called pei aleph, like we saw earlier with yomar.
Vowel, actually.
Yeah, it has an O vowel in the yiktol. So yochal belongs to the same family as this does. And sure, I'll go ahead and ask. Does anybody know any of the other verbs that have an aleph in the first root letter and has an O vowel in the yiktol?
Ava.
Mm-hmm.
Ahav.
Mm-hmm.
Ohev.
Achaz, yochaz.
Yochav. Yofe.
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 This has nothing to do with beauty. Well, maybe it has something
Yeah.
to do with beauty. What is the root afa?
He,
Al pei yod. What's the root mean?
Afa,
And afiya.
Dust.
And afiya is a bakery. So what is yofe?
Yeah.
Baker.
Means he will bake. Or afa, he baked. So does that have anything to do with beauty? Yeah.
No.
If you like breads, then maybe. I feel like which one's missing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Avad. Yovad.
Mm.
Okay, those are all of them. Well, there are a lot more verbs out there that start with aleph. Do they behave normally? More or less, yeah. Let's see. If rachatz means he washed, how do you say he washed himself?
Ra hit. Oh, rahit.
This is actually a binyan question.
It
Rachatz,
turns into a PL. Right?
well, PL means he did it to somebody, right? How do you
yeah.
say if he did it to himself?
Oh, hit ratz.
There you
Hit
go.
rachatz.
Hit rachetz. Or hit rachatz, exactly. Hit rachetz or hit rachatz. Hit rachatzti. I showered. In modern Hebrew, it means you took a shower. There's also hit kaleach. Kaleach. Sorry, it's supposed to be a tzere and then a final with a strong dagesh, whatever. Miklachat is a shower. So hit kaleach is to shower. Anyway. Okay. Questions before we move on? All right, now I still see 4 hands hovering, and I just want to invite anyone else. Does anyone else want to read before I go back and cycle back through? Thomas?
I can, yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. Uva hashemesh v'taher ve'achar yochal min hakodashim ki lachmohu.
Very good. Uva hashemesh v'taher ve'achal yochal min hakodashim ki lachmohu. All right. What is va hashemesh?
Ba is coming. Also the sun comes out at morning to shine.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. This actually appears to be the opposite.
Sunset.
Okay.
Look at that. It's saying when the sun is going down.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's almost like when the sun is going. I guess it makes a big difference, doesn't it? So I guess it depends on when the day starts, because at the end of the day, that's when, you know, the time is run out and now they're pure again after they wash themselves. So here it's being translated as the sun going. The sun, masculine or feminine?
Feminine.
Wait,
I think.
is this masculine or feminine?
Masculine.
So is Shemesh masculine or feminine?
Masculine.
No, it's feminine.
It is?
Most of the
It's
time it's
feminine.
feminine. It's one of those words that unfortunately it
It's
shows up.
irregular.
Well, I mean, it is irregular in the sense that it's usually feminine, but it doesn't look feminine. But what I mean to say is there are mistakes in the Bible. Sometimes ruach is treated like a masculine, even though most of the time it's feminine. Same thing with shemesh. Most of the time it's feminine. Here, either somebody forgot to put a hey on the end, or maybe this hey right here was supposed to go over here. You know, Hashem, you know, there's no way to know from the text that we currently have. But yeah, Shemesh is supposed to be feminine. It's one of those oddballs. Can anyone else think of irregular feminine nouns besides body parts? Because those are easy. Irregular feminine nouns, meaning they don't look feminine, but they are.
Aim.
Ayin, that's a body part. Anything? Did you say ayin?
I say city, ear.
City, ear. Of course, a city is feminine. All right. What else? What's a city in? A location. Are locations feminine?
Yes.
Irim.
Aretz is feminine. Ir is feminine. And because these two words are feminine, every city, like city name, and every land, like Israel or Mitzrayim, are all going to be feminine as well, because these two are feminine. All right. Anything else? Oh, with one exception, the Vatican is masculine.
Really?
Why? I don't know.
Okay.
Any other irregular feminine nouns that we should know? Any at all?
Oh, yes, Evan.
That's one. Evan is one. I mentioned one earlier.
Even.
Ruach is feminine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I said no body parts, but I'm going to go ahead and include one because it's irregular. Usually body parts that come in singles rather than doubles are masculine. And the one exception to that rule is beten.
Beten.
Feminine nouns.
Feminine. Yep. So how can you identify a feminine noun? We've already talked about body parts that come in twos. So I'll just say 2 times body parts. We have a laundry list of irregulars here, but by and large, how can you identify a feminine instead of a masculine noun? Look at its singular form, and it's going to have either a feminine hey, kamatz hey, is stressed, that is stressed, or it's going to have a feminine tav in it.
Yeah.
And remember that kamatz hey was originally a kamatz tav, so it's kind of one and the same. But the point is, in in biblical Hebrew, either kamatz hey that's stressed or a tav. Okay, so this right here, is it feminine?
Laila.
Yes.
Has a kamatz hey, right?
Mhm.
Is it stressed?
It's masculine.
Laila is stressed over here. It is masculine. It has to be stressed kamatz hey in order to be feminine.
Masculine.
Lachem. Lachem. Okay, yeah, there's not much to say about that. Okay, is there anyone else who hasn't read yet who wants to, that does not have her hand up? His or her hand up. Okay, then I'm going to cycle back through. Oh, look at this cute little verse. Amanda, would you like to read this cute little verse?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Nevela uvrefa lo yochal letoma va ani Hashem.
Excellent. Did everyone see what she did there? All right. You've read it. I'll read it very quickly, but your job is going to be to prove to us what vowel this is, a kamatz or a kamatz katan. Let me read.
Okay.
Nivela utrefa lo yochal letva ani Adonai. You can tell that I mumbled on that word because you're about to prove to us which one it is.
So the stress of the word moves down because of the ba or the va, and so the stress is not on the tet mem, and it is in a closed syllable.
Question. Is it a verb?
No.
Yes.
No.
Oh, yes.
Depends on what camp you're from.
Tell
What
me.
kind of a word is this? Rather than trying to categorize it as either a verb or not, more specifically, what kind of a word is this? What form is it, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Is it
To do.
To do. What is that called?
I don't know.
The tame is normally clean.
No, we know. I'm not asking about the root and the specific meaning. I'm asking about the pattern of the word. What form is this? Somebody said to do something. What is that called? To do something.
Infinitive.
Infinitive.
Yes.
Do infinitives usually have an O vowel?
Yes. At the end.
There's your
Mm.
proof. Okay, so we do expect an O vowel. It's just that here, instead of the O vowel being on the mem,
Yeah.
it dropped to a shva, which then had an influence on the preceding shva and turned it into a kamatz katan.
Mm.
So yes, in infinitives, you do expect an O vowel. There it is.
Mhm. Leoma.
Now this right here, is that a verb?
No.
It says what dies of itself, right? The translator to whom I'm outsourcing my ability to think tells me it's a verb. Or is it?
I think it's talking about itself, not what the dies.
So basically
The
it's a
subject.
noun.
Or-
It's a
Yeah.
noun that's described as that thing, noun, that dies of itself. Nvela.
Nevela.
Nvela. So it's actually a noun, feminine noun.
Mhm.
And this translation is here to help someone who doesn't understand the Jewish tradition of nivela or treif or uncleanness. It rushes in to help kind of clarify what the Hebrew Bible is talking about. So that's why it has this long translation. Nivela utrefa. Has anyone ever heard the word treif? It's used both in I guess in Yiddish, but treif is something that you find dead because something has torn it and killed it. Israel's not allowed to eat it. If it dies of itself or if it's been torn, lo yochal. Let's see, Jesse, you're back.
Okay. ושמרו את משמרתי ולא יישאו עליו חטא ומתו בו כי יכלוהו אני אדוני קדשם.
Very good. Vishameru, not a kamatz katan because it's a katal or actually a vekatal.
Mhm.
Vishameru et mishmarti velo yis'u alav chet umetuvo ki yechaleluhu ani Adonai mekadesham. Okay, so there are three things that I want to talk about. This, and this. We already talked about this, so I don't think we have to do that. Is the word chet the same pattern as segolets?
Yeah.
What's a segolet?
Three dots.
Yeah. Usually it's nouns with segols, like melech. What are other segolets? We saw one earlier. Even, shemesh. Yeah, these are all segolets. So my question is this the same pattern as a segolet? It's a trick question. In one sense, no, because clearly it has different vowels than this does. But in another sense, yes. Take, for example, the word sefer. Oops, sere. There we go. Sefer. How do you say his sefer?
Zefro.
Sfao.
Mm-hmm.
Zef.
Hello.
Zefro.
So essentially, this should have been two schwas with a short, with a vowel over here. What was probably originally a long I or E vowel. This is too. It's just that the shva under the aleph is unnecessary. It quiesced at the end of the word. All of these words will get an original vowel back under the first root letter before you add the suffix. How do you say his sun, like sunshine?
Shim. Sho.
Very good. Shim sho.
Yeah.
I don't know why someone would say that, but okay. How do you say his stone?
No.
This one's actually an vowel.
No.
No.
Avno. How do you say his king?
Mo.
Who?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm turning these final forms into medial forms, but yeah, mal ko. So it's essentially the same pattern as these over here. It's just that the tsere stays because it's in a stressed syllable. Chet. The shva at the end went missing, which is to say that all these seglets with all the segals are artificial. They're not original. You don't know how many times someone says, wait a second, if melech is spelled like this, then what happened to the segals whenever you put an O on the end? Well, that's the point. This is more original. Those came later. So you're still going to find a lot of words that have this pattern preserved in it, like mo. Here it would be same pattern. All right, next up, let's see. Yolanda, I think Yolanda, would you like to read? Yolanda, turn your microphone on.
Muted.
It was on for a second, then it came back off. So turn your mic back on. Now it works.
Yohal Kodesh Toshav Kohen Ves
Mhm.
probably Vesohir
No,
Lo.
that's a regular av, visachir.
Alright. Lo Yohal Kodesh.
Kodesh, very good. V'chol zar lo yochal kodesh. So every stranger, someone who's not one of the priests, lo yochal kodesh, shall not eat the holy stuff. Toshav kohen, someone who does this action with the priest, visachir lo yochal kodesh. What's the root of this word?
Yashav.
Yashav, right? With the original vav showing up here. Toshav, I'm not sure I would use the word sojourner. What's the usual root for a sojourner?
Yeah.
Yeah. Either ger or ger toshav. Abraham calls himself a ger and toshav. So ger is someone who is from a different nation but lives among foreign land, and toshav is someone who sits and dwells. Do you all know any other words that have this root?
Issachar.
Yissachar. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Yissachar. It's the same root, sin, kaf, resh. It's just that in the Bible, it is strangely spelled with an extra sin. And all kinds of people come up with ways to help explain it. Some people just say, nobody knows, just ignore it. Some will say, maybe this originally comes from yesh sachar, meaning there is a reward. And some people would argue that maybe this is a kind of corrupted spelling of ish, a man,
So,
a man of hire. And I wonder if I actually heard this recently. I wonder if it was Yissachar who was born as a result of the mothers hiring out their husband. You remember with the mandrakes, the love apples, whatever your translation says. That'd be interesting if it was, because then all of a sudden his name tells the backstory. A man of hire. He came about because his dad got hired out. Oy, 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 oy. Annie, do you want to read?
Yeah.
Okay.
וכוכן כי יקנה נפש כיום כספו הוא יאכל בו ויליד ביתו הם יאכלו ולחמו.
Very good. So this verse is telling us, the previous verse told us who can't eat of his holy food. This verse is telling us who can partake of the holy food that he receives from his priestly ministry. V'chohen ki yikne nefesh kinyan kaspo hu yochal bo vilid beito hem yochlu velachmo. And let's see, if the priest, remember, ki has three different possible meanings. This one is giving us a case law or a specific scenario. If or when, yikne, meaning he procures. In modern Hebrew, it means buy. If he owns, possesses, kana. Exactly. What's the root of kana?
Kof nun yud.
Exactly. You get to see the yod over here, but you don't get to see the yod here.
But this construct from here?
No, the hay is a result of laziness. It should have been something like yiknayi, but that's hard to say. So over time, it just became yikne.
Okay.
And that sound is now represented by a vowel letter hey, but the root is kuf nun yod. Okay.
The original. Okay.
Originally, yeah. And here you get to see the kuf nun yod. If he obtains or procures a nefesh, a being, somebody, it translates it as slave, but that's not a good translation. Okay. What's the usual word for a servant or a slave?
Eved.
Eved, because it comes from the root meaning work, labor. Whereas here, nefesh comes from a root meaning
person.
It might actually come from linshom, meaning to breathe. So it's a living being.
They've translated nefesh different in every single verse that we've read today.
And now, as Hebrew scholars, you are able to notice that, and that's awesome.
Can I make a comment?
Of course.
David, when David was running from Saul, he went to the temple and they gave him bread. He was none of those. Is that why they all got killed? The priests, when they found out, they killed them all for feeding him?
Well, no, the priest got killed because Saul didn't like that the high priest was helping his enemy. not because the priest actually did something wrong. The priest was probably right in feeding the hungry, having a precedent, having a priority over the temple ceremonies. New Testament actually brings this up when the disciples are crushing grain in their hand, and the Pharisees say, "Why are your disciples doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath?" Were they? Were they doing something unlawful on the Sabbath?
No,
Yes.
because
Mhm.
they
Yes,
were with the
absolutely.
Messiah.
Well, look, just because you're with somebody who's got a get out of jail free card doesn't mean you get to. No. They were doing something unequivocally. They were doing something wrong. Here, let me prove it. Is it allowed to harvest your field on Shabbat?
No.
Is it allowed to harvest only half of it?
No.
How about a quarter? You see where I'm going with this. The point is, harvesting on Shabbat is not allowed. It's actually strictly forbidden.
Yeah.
So then why is it that they're not culpable? Because if ever in the Bible there are two commandments that conflict, you do the positive commandment, the one that says do such and such, and you disregard the negative commandment that says do not do such and such. So is there a conflict of rules here? Yeah. Loving your neighbor, feeding the hungry, that's a positive commandment. Do not harvest on the Shabbat is a negative commandment. Which one do you do? You should act lovingly towards someone who is suffering. That is the lawful thing to do. So yes, it is wrong to harvest on Shabbat, but there's another commandment that is more important than it. And that was precisely Jesus, Yeshua's argument. He said, have you never read that David had bread from the high priest, and the high priest is able to do work on the Sabbath, and he's not, and he's guiltless. The point is, if hunger trumps the priestly service and the priestly service trumps Shabbat, then that means hunger trumps Shabbat. So it's actually a very clever and legally sound argument about why doing good on the Sabbath is right, even if you're breaking a commandment in the Bible that's a do not commandment.
The bread of the priest is these are the I don't know the English word, Schaubrot.
Either showbread, or the Hebrew is
Showbread.
something more like bread of the presence, or possibly bread of the faces. It just depends on your
Lechem panim, yes.
Lechem apanim. So is it the bread that is for showing, or is it the bread that has multiple faces on it? Because in Jewish tradition, they think that the bread was like not square, but like having multiple sides on it, like facets of a diamond. Whereas in the interpretation of showbread, the word panim has to do with something visible, something up front, something like the face of a company, or the face of it's something to present. Showbread.
Yeah.
Good. Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, I like this showbread because Jesus say in John 6, I am the bread of life. Yeah. When we see him, we see the Father. When we see the living bread, yes.
Wait. What about when he was talking about the manna? He said he's bread from heaven, right?
Yeah.
So that means the manna is a shadow towards the messianic fulfillment.
Yes, shadow. It's a copy, ne? So ähnlich, so. Yeah.
Let's see. Next, who else wants to read? If not, I'll start back up. Okay, Thomas, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Uvat Kohen ki ti ye leish zar hu בתרומת הקודשים לא תאכל.
ובת כהן, כי תהיה לאיש זר, היא בתרומת הקודשים לא תאכל. לא תאכל. I wonder if I should ask, why do we get a tzere here instead of the patach?
Puzzle?
Yeah, absolutely pausal, but how do we go from a short A
to a shva?
To a long, no, it's not a shva, it's a tzere.
Tzere, sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
usually short A goes to long A, right? Well, hang on a second. What is a yated?
Yated.
Or what is zaken?
Old.
Yeah, zaken.
Old, yeah.
A yated is a tent peg. How do you put this into construct?
Sekan.
Very good. So if this is the construct form, you can see how sometimes the tzere drops down to a patach. So what we're looking at here is a patach that turns back into a tzere. That tells us that the more original vowel of the verb tochal should actually have a tzere in it, tochel. And that's part of the reason, that's part of the point of pausal forms. They bring back original vowels. Same with yated, it becomes yatad. All right. Amanda, you're up to read. Go ahead.
Yes. Uvat kohen ki tihye almana ugerusha vezera ein la veshava el beit aviha kinureha milehem aviha tochel vehol zar lo yochel o.
So in the previous verse, it says that if the daughter marries a czar, not like a tsar, but someone who's strange, foreign, meaning not a priest, then she can't eat of the holy stuff. But here we get to see how she can come back into her father's house, right? Ovat kohen ki tihye almana ugrusha וזרע אין לך, ושבה אל בית אביה, כנעוריה, מלחם אביה, תאכל, וכל זר לא יאכל בו. Okay, so if she's either widowed or divorced, and she does not have a child, that means in that ancient society, she would have been left destitute. Then she is to come back home to her father and live as in her youth. A na'ar is a young man. Na'ara is a young woman. Ne'ureha is her youthfulness or time of, or it's not youthhood. What would you call that? Like childhood, youthhood, whatever. Anyway, so kin ureha, like ne'ur, belonging to her. Milechem aviha, from the food of her father she shall eat, even though it's holy. She now has no husband and she has no children. So that means if she had a child, she wouldn't be able to eat her father's bread. I mean, how old is the child, right?
It's normal.
Well, here's the other thing. Children back then worked with their parents either out in the field or in the shop or in the house at a much younger age than they do now. So even if it were a young child, he would still be able to be the man of the house. So yeah, if she has a son, she can't go back to her father's house and eat his holy things.
Mm-hmm. And the Tochal, is that the passive form too?
I'm sorry, what word?
The last line, Tochal,
Uh-huh.
is that the passive form?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the normal form is over here, yochal, and here it's in causal form, tochel.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jesse, next one.
Okay. Ve'ish ki yochal kodesh bishgaga.
Oops. You're fine. You read it just fine. It's just that shkaga is like, oops.
Oh. Ve Yasaf Hamishito Alav Venatan La Kohen et HaKodesh.
Very good. Ve'ish ki yochal kodesh bishkaga, the one who eats it by accident. V'yasaf, he shall add chamishito alav, the fifth part of it. V'natan la kohen et hakodesh, and then he'll give to the priest the holy thing. So if you accidentally eat something that's dedicated, it's supposed to go, it's earmarked for going to the priest. If you accidentally eat it, you need to add a fifth part to it. All right, Yolanda, this one's yours. Go ahead.
Jessie, she's the one that read?
Who?
Nothing. Velo Yehalelu et Kadeshei Benei Yisrael et Asher Yarmu Yormu.
There's a chirik right here that got shoved over because of the cantillation mark.
Okay,
right.
Yarimu Laiva.
Close. Ladonai.
Oh, sorry. That's a big one.
Velo yechalelu et kodshe bnei Yisrael et asher yarimu ladonai. They shall not profane the holy things of children of Israel that they offer to the Lord. Annie?
Okay. והכיסיהו אותם אהרון אשמה באוכלם את קודשכם, כי אני אדוני מקדשם.
Excellent reading. Excellent reading. This right here reminds me of something I forgot to talk about on a previous slide. Oops. Yeah, those Kamatz Katans don't trip you up. You read very, very well. V'hisi'u otam avon ashma be'ochlam et kodshehem ki ani Adonai mikadesham. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how I want to present this. How do you say he will sanctify?
He will.
Yikadesh.
Yikadesh. If it's got like a like a makaf attaching it to the next word, then maybe it'll turn into yikadash. But usually the expected vowel is a tzere, yikadesh. How do you say he will sanctify them by adding a pronominal suffix?
Hem.
Hem is one option. What's the shorter form?
Mm.
The sun.
Wrong.
No.
What? But it's right there. What do you mean wrong? Okay, so let me explain. This right here is pausal form. It's an original vowel here. What you expect here is a tsere. And this, of course, will drop to a shva. Yikadeshem. Wait. How do you say he sanctified them? Meaning put it in the katal instead of the yiktol.
Kadeshem.
Kidesh means he sanctified. Kidesham, you lose the tzere, it goes to shva because it's unstressed. But the point is, in the katal, it's supposed to have an ah vowel. In the yiktol, it's supposed to have an eh vowel. All right. So with that in mind, how do you say he will sanctify me?
Ikdeshe.
The she. Oh,
Yikadesheni. How do you say he sanctified me?
Yikdeshu.
Kideshani. Okay. In
Me. So.
right. So ani or any, they're both the pronominal suffix that shows up on verbs. Right. If you're talking about nouns, it's just a chirik yod, susi, my horse. But if you're putting it on a verb, it needs to be any for yiktols and ani for katals. All right. So back to the original point. Is this a participle?
Yes.
Do
Yes.
participles come from yiktol? Yeah, you essentially get rid of the yiktol letter, you put a mem in its place, it comes straight from the yiktol. So what vowel should that be?
Eh.
Should be eh. Mikadeshem is what you expect. Nevertheless, here it's a kamatz. Why?
Puzzle.
Pausal. Wow.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
much stuff changes with these pausal forms. Holy smokes. All right. We are out of time and I need to go have some dinner. If you all want to support Hungry for Hebrew, you know how to do it. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Remember that this week is going to be Shavuot, Pentecost. So please have a meaningful and jubilant Shavuot and or Pentecost. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Leitrot.
Trot, like ko lang.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Later.
Liit, trot. Tada.